Hey, what's up, everyone? My name is Helen Herimbi, and this is The Watch. Just recently, President Cyril Ramaphosa announced that he was extending this lockdown. So, what would have ended on the 16th of April will now possibly come to a close at the end of April. And as expected, this has heightened some people's anxiety, mine included. But today, I'll be speaking to someone who is not only our family member in music, but he is also a pastor. Kabelo Mabalani talks to me about keeping the faith during this pandemic. Awesome. Cool. So, Kabelo Mabalani, thank you so much for joining me today.
Cool. Yeah, thanks for having me.
How are you actually doing today?
So today, today specifically, I guess one had to kind of recalibrate and brace oneself for another. Well, 21 days actually starts today, in
Yeah.
essence. And I guess, look, listening to the president's message yesterday, and just also kind of having gone through a few stats in terms of how quickly we reacted versus other countries, especially from our first kind of case of infection.
Yeah.
We seem to have responded way quicker. So I think I'm taking a positive from from that to say we haven't done too badly. I still think we've got a long way to test. So, you asked me how I'm doing today. I guess, I'm remaining positive, remaining
Yeah.
positive, taking positives from, from wherever I can. And I guess trying to stay as steady as possible because I've got two kids, you
Yeah.
know, and that throws in a completely different dynamic because you kind of have to be as even keel as possible. But I've got quite a good structure, somewhat.
Yeah.
Uh, or my days aren't structured, but I kind of do the same things at every day, which is structure somewhat. I make sure I get in, about an hour's read. I make sure I train for about an hour. I make sure I play with them.
That's actually, sorry to cut you off, a very interesting thing I wanted you to touch on because people think that with lockdown, you must just like, you absolutely can't do anything anymore because you can't go to the gym and you can't run on the open road. But you've actually been putting out videos on how to work out at home.
100%. I mean, training, the thing is what we prioritize, shows what's important to us, So we knew that the lockdown was looming. So
Yeah.
what's important to you, you'll prioritize in terms of making sure that you have it at your disposal. Um, when the lockdown kind of started. So I made sure I got myself an indoor bike. uh, you know, I've got tons of backlog in terms of books I need to read. So this has been an amazing time for me, to catch up on lots and lots of reading, which has really been, whenever I get like reading time in, I feel really good. It just feels really good. I'm always kind of working on my body, and it's great to kind of feed that intellectual kind of soul, the mind, and that's what the reading has been doing, and kind of just keeping as many things as consistent as possible. So
Yeah.
I've been working in touch with, the various teams that I'm involved with. I've been training, I've been reading, and been spending time with my kids. So even with kind of the chaos, keeping as many things as constant as possible and consistent as possible has kept me above water. I must admit though that Monday, I mean, we are in the Friday of week 2, right?
Yeah.
And I'm cognizant of kind of when this interview will go out. So we're in the Friday of week 2 today. And the Monday leading up to this Friday, I remember going to the shops to get something to eat. And I felt like a zombie. Like I
Oh,
felt orientated. I didn't know where I was. A small bout of depression and being confused and like despair, try to set in. But I'm very lucky in a sense that I'm able to pull myself towards myself quicker than most, you
Yeah.
know, and I think it's a skill, and you have to be cognizant of the fact that some people aren't able to pull themselves toward themselves as quickly as possible because these
So
are unprecedented. Yeah.
yeah, what are the tools that you use to bring yourself back? Because you are in the store, you can't walk around aimlessly. So what is the one or two things that you do, practical things that people can do if they are out in the stores and they find themselves feeling a bit overwhelmed?
Sure. So in the store, I literally had nothing. I mean, to be honest, we didn't need anything in the house, but I kind of went out and I ended up buying stuff we didn't need. I bought like dried mango, like useless things that you didn't need. But then what kind of helps me pull myself towards myself, you know, I hadn't trained that day. I hadn't read that day. I
Uh,
hadn't done kind of the the things I spoke about earlier on in terms of keeping them constant. And when I got back and I trained and I actually had breakfast and I read, then kind of I started feeling okay again.
yeah, I feel you. It's interesting that a lot of us are having these I guess not a meltdown, but we're discovering things while we're out in the stores. Because I
For sure.
hadn't left my house for about almost 3 weeks, but
Wow.
yesterday I went just to do my grocery run, and I had my mask on, but a lot of people didn't have their masks on. And, somebody was saying that they feel like it's confusing, this whole mask thing, because they're being told to wash their hands and they're being told to sanitize. So, how much do people really need masks? And I think you're in a good position to actually explain what is the importance of the mask? Why should we still have our masks on?
So, I mean, I guess let's start with the importance of having masks. I mean, it's a simple case of protecting oneself, and leading up to kind of the lockdown, many articles and programs were being kind of put out there in terms of whether masks work or not. And I think in the kind of advent we find ourselves in, masks protect not yourself but the people on the outside. So should you be infected, you are doing us a service by protecting kind of the population at large. So they do definitely have a role on a civilian level. But
Yeah.
you know that Danny and I have started an NGO called Shout. We started it 10, almost 12 years ago.
Yeah.
And yeah, we've always believed in kind of serving the community. And when messages started coming out about healthcare, healthcare workers and people on the front line of this war against COVID-19 started running out of supplies, Danny and I got onto a Zoom and we're like, look, what should we do? In fact, no, that's not how it happened. We actually got approached by a company, SMD Technologies, who
Yeah.
are a logistics management company who also source various products from China. And they said, guys, look, there's a shortage of masks. Why don't we use the Shout brand to get the messaging, out there that we can get masks at cost. And SMD has relationships with factories in China, and promised that they wouldn't profit from this at all, and they would sell us, get us the masks at cost. So we set up shoutformasks.co.za. It was also
Yeah.
something to do as well, which is another kind of tip. There's always something to do.
Mm.
There's always and whether it's helping somebody else or helping yourself or helping people in kind of close proximity to you. So we set up Shout for Masks. We got into a Zoom with our ad agency and about 10, 15 other people.
Yeah.
And we literally did this over the internet, web designer, creatives and exactly what messaging we wanted on it. And it's been quite an amazing journey that we were actually able to do it without kind of personal contact. So we
Yeah.
set that up, and we launched, like I said, this is the Friday in second week. So we launched it the Friday of the first week of of lockdown. And from now till then, we've raised about 650,000 rand, and we've put in our first order of masks. What's that?
I said that's a lot. Well
Yeah,
done.
it is a lot. I mean, and I have to give a shout out to cars.co.za. I mean, they got us, very well on our way with a 250,000 rand donation. Restonic, the mattress company, gave us 25,000 rand. SMD Technologies donated 25,000 rand. Us as the Shout Foundation, also donated. And we've been doing lots of media. We've kind of been very active on social media. And the donations are coming in and trickling in, which is great. I think Prime Media has also given us about R1 million worth of airtime to really get, to do a PS. We've done a PSA, which is going to do its rounds. And it really feels good, to be part of something like this, especially in the time we find ourselves in, because at least there's something to do,
Yeah.
and the fact that it's gaining so much traction is also so encouraging, because I think it's a privilege, because I also understand that some people can be found in their spaces feeling quite useless and not kind of being able to do anything. Well, here's something to do. Go on to shoutformasks.co.za and donate 100 rand, and 100 rand gets you 7 masks, so two N95 medical grade masks and 5 surgical masks in the pack. So there's something to do for you during the lockdown.
Yeah. I was about to say, like, I think it's great that the corporates are getting involved, but this is also something that individuals can also take part in, especially because a lot of us are worried about our livelihood right now. So you can
Sure.
part with 100 rand,
For sure.
Cool.
I think, yeah, like I said, take positives and take anything, take from anything that makes you feel good. And I think giving is also one of those things where, I feel giving does more for us, does more for the giver than the person who receives. So, I think there's a point for you to, take positivity from and give.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. So I wouldn't be a music journalist if I didn't ask if we're getting another song from you and Danny during this pandemic. Are we?
Nah, nah. I mean, that would be actually an amazing feat, to get, the who's who on a song,
Yeah.
uh, at this time. But look, we juggling way too many balls. I mean, his kids are driving him up the wall as well, and I've got mine. So I don't think we're getting a song. I think
Okay.
masks will suffice for now.
All right, cool. So I think the other important thing is for me, I was feeling like this lockdown is something I can survive. It'll be fine after 21 days. And then after our president announced the extension, is the first time I was like, oh my goodness. If he can announce 2 weeks, it can be 3 months or six
Yeah,
months or whatever.
yeah,
And as somebody who works remotely, what does that mean for my business? And when I was having this discussion with a few friends, they were like, never mind the business, are we as human beings going to survive? And there's this whole anxiety thing going. And there's a lot of people who are losing their faith because they're like, where is God in all of this?
yeah.
And I was wondering if you have like a message of hope or some encouragement for people who are losing their hope right now, and people who are feeling anxious and even depressed,
Yeah,
because it does feel like an uncertain time for everyone.
yeah. Look, I think, first of all, it's important to say that whatever anybody is feeling at this moment is justified. It's okay to feel anxious. It's only normal. We find ourselves in unprecedented times. I think worry is one of those things that will creep up. But I think it's important to have diversion tactics, if you will, to not to focus or amplify too much of the of kind of the situation we find ourselves in. An Apache Indian once said, to a young person, after asking if two wolves got into a fight, which one would win. And he said it's the wolf that you feed is going to win, the battle. So right now there's, we on two sides. There's the anxious, there's the worry, depression, or there's the other side where you see yourself after, the situation we find ourselves in. And whichever one of those situations you feed the most is the one, that's going to win. I think for me, I started a business. We are heading towards our first year in May, and we in big trouble. We in big trouble. And it's very easy to get very kind of frustrated about what's going to happen from a financial commitments that I have. But I'm choosing, and not out of denial, I'm choosing not to focus on that, because right now there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. So what we are responsible for is the here and now. I've got to be a good father, try my level best to be a good father to my kids, be there for my wife. The stuff that I'm in control of, let me kind of focus on that. The stuff that I can't control, I really can't control. So it doesn't make any sense kind of focusing on that stuff. And you've got to remain hopeful, as trivial and as cliche as that sounds. For me, that's what keeps that's what has kept me alive my whole life. There's a scripture in the Bible, and I think it's David. He says, where would I have been if I didn't ever expect to see the goodness of the Lord? And it says in another translation, it says, I remain confident of this thing, that I will see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. So that's my confidence. And that, for me, it's real world, because I've got a business out there. I've got suppliers, I've got staff, I've got rent to pay, but I don't have control of how many months we're going to be indoors. And at such a time when, the doors are open and we have to go face the world, I'll deal with it as and when it comes. I think it's also not to forget that everybody is going through this.
Yeah.
Because
Not
everybody
just
is
you.
going through this. It's a perspective thing. And the thing is, I live in Sandton. I've got electricity. I also got to focus. Remember, the pleasures that I enjoy. I've got a roof over my head. I've got clothes on my back. I've got food in my tummy. We're not sick. And all I have to do is throw a stone in one direction, and there's a reality that people are experiencing that is 10 times worse than the reality that I'm facing now. So I think perspective is really important at this stage. It is terrible, it's not great, but compared to what? Just really just have perspective at this time. As long as you've got a warm bed to sleep in, you got food in your tummy and clothes on your back, I think that's good enough for now.
Yeah, I
That's
completely understand that. Thank you
yeah,
for that.
cool.
I think if we can leave people with anything, or with something, it's helpful to have a routine, something that
Yes,
you consistent,
yeah,
and have faith, right? Those are
100%.
the two most important things.
I read there's a guy I follow on Instagram, Sire Fitness, and he says if you don't come out of this lockdown period with a new skill, with a newfound habit, it's okay. You're only normal. Because I think there's also a lot of pressure.
Yep.
People have themselves like, I've got this time, I've got to get out on the other side, and I'll have discovered, I don't know, like just the pressure. So take the pressure off yourself.
Yeah.
Um, and
And
really
also
just
21-day challenges. Like
yeah
21 days get fit, 21 days to whatever. Like, yo, chill.
but I mean, it's like if that's what gets you through, that's what gets you through. You know what I'm saying? I've been thinking of starting a challenge. If I can just remain focused and kind of consistent, that's what gets me through just life in general. I mean, you can only wonder, people like Nelson Mandela and people who are in jail. You start to actually appreciate, the small things and the small freedoms that you have.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Kabelo Mabalani, for speaking to us today. I cannot wait to see you again in real life.
I'll see you soon.
All right, bye.
Sharp, sharp.
I will definitely admit that I am feeling a whole lot better after that conversation with Kabelo Mabalani. So thank you so much to him for giving us a message of faith for today. I sincerely hope that this has helped set your mind at ease and energize you in your efforts to stay safe and to stay sane. My name is Helen Herimbi. I will see you tomorrow.